Hello and welcome to Woman to Woman. It is indeed a blessing to be here with you. I am your host, Anntricia Bray Smith, author, educator, and public speaker. I am the voice for those who suffer in silence. I just consider it a pleasure to be here with you as we are beginning our broadcast for Woman to Woman. Woman to Woman is a place where we're going to talk about everything woman. That means nothing is left from the table. We're going to put it here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to process. We are going to do this thing. Guys, we are so resilient. We've made it this far through 2020. You know, we took a lot of blows. We took um, just a lot of drama. We have overcome. We are warriors. And so that within itself says a lot about us women and what we're made of. Uh, Not many people can go through what we go through and make it out as well as we do. And we don't look like what we've been through. And to me, that is enough to just connect with a woman and give her a high five and let her know that, hey, we're going to do this thing. 2020 may have given us a couple blows, but what it did do, it come to help develop us and make us and create us to, so that we're pressed to the point into our greatness. And that's what it's all about. Nothing that's not pressed, nothing that is not tried through the fire is going to shine or going to be perfected in the way that our Creator created for it to be for us and to us, guys. So it didn't come to stop us. And I know that you've seen many of them fall by the wayside or get distracted or get discouraged there for a while, but it did not come to stop us. It come to help create us and prepare us for the things that lies ahead. And so I just commend you for standing strong, and I commend you for just grabbing a hold to what you had left, grabbing a hold to those broken pieces, grabbing a hold to that little hope or that little faith that you had. Because I know that if you are like me, sometimes that was all you had, was just a little bit to hang on to, but it was enough. It was enough, guys, and we cannot discount that everything that we've overcome so far, it was everything that we needed to go through that storm. It was enough to help us get through. And so we're here today to talk about it. We're here today to wear a smile. We're here today to take another woman by the hand and encourage her and help her find a sense of understanding that everything we go through, it's not here to discourage us or to distract us or to break us, but it is here to prepare us for the things that lie ahead. So that brings me to our topic today. Our topic today is before moving on. Before moving on, and I think this is so befitting, starting this woman to woman, being here to encourage you. Before moving on, there are some things that we must take care of, women. There are some things that we have to begin to process, and that we have to begin to look at and peel the layers back in order to be the best that we're going to be moving into our 2021. So, nonetheless, let me just tell you a little bit about me. I told you a little bit about what I do. I am an author, I am an educator, I am a public speaker. But more than that, I live my life to be a voice for so many of us who have suffered in silence for so long. Many of us, we go through so many traumas, and we wear so many hats that oftentimes, we lose ourselves. We lose ourselves in the midst of all the demands imposed upon us by life. And so, what I uh, hope and what I purpose to do is to use my voice to help you until you're able to find your own voice, to let you know that regardless of whatever obstacles you face in life, regardless of whatever challenges that you have had to overcome, that you are not alone. There are many of us that have suffered through so many uh, embarrassing moments, so many traumatizing events, so many dysfunctional cycles that tend to repeat itself over and over again in our families, in our relationships, in our careers. And yet we remain silent because of the way we have been conditioned over the years. And so it is my hope that I can sit here with you to have a conversation so that my voice helps to empower you and give you strength and let you know that whatever it is that we're facing, whatever it is that we're having to overcome, whatever it is that we've been through, it's okay. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to have gone through those things, because one thing that I know is that those things do not define who we are. And so, before moving on, guys, one thing we have to realize is that we must seek to forgive. We must. If we cannot understand the power in forgiveness, if we cannot understand the stronghold in the inability not being able to forgive, then we do ourselves a disservice. And guys, I know so many of us in our lives, we're doing good. We're succeeding in our careers. We look like we're flourishing so much. But until we really get to the place that we're just sold out for us, sold out for me, sold out for myself, sold out for I, then we are not reaching our highest level of greatness, our highest level of success. We continue to hold ourselves back if we can't get to the point to where we can forgive. And so I don't know who I'm talking to today, but I know that even when we profess, or even when it looks like we're okay, even when it looks like that we've processed the traumas or the disappointments in our lives, there's always something there that we've kept hidden to remind us that that thing, that person, that event still has a hold on us some kind of way. And so what we do at that point is we go a little bit down the road and we stop, or we get stuck, or we have to stay there in a little while. And then as we're sitting there, we find ourselves getting distracted, and we're never able to really get to that point to where we reach our greatness. We are the only ones that can hold ourselves back. Yes, there's going to be barriers in the way. Yes, there's going to be opposers. Yes, there's going to be naysayers along the way. But in reality, we are our greatest enemy. And our greatest enemy of ourselves comes from being attached to something that we're not willing to let go of. Or maybe we're not at a point to where we know how to let go of it. Those strongholds, those things that keep us complacent in situations or in places that we know that we can do better. We know that we are destined for better. But because this place is comfortable enough, because this place still allows me to hold on to that bitterness and hold on to that anger and still be able to function at a particular level and still be able to have some form of success, we get comfortable. How great would it be to look around at the women in your life and see them healed and see them whole and see them fulfilled? Wouldn't that be such an awesome thing? Can you imagine having families with women being mothers who don't have to parent through their pain, who don't have to uh, uh, to pretend to be intimate or pretend to be uh, attached or pretend to be so loving to their spouse, can actually be free and intimate and passionate about their spouse without something in the back of their minds. How awesome would it be to have a women full of church Christians that are there, who are whole and who have overcome and who have been able to let go and who have been able to overcome the past, the traumas, the insecurities, the jealousies, the bitterness, the anger. They're able to overcome that. And so when other young women come to want to be a part of the body of Christ, that they can just wrap their arms around them and they don't have to be judgmental of them and they don't have to feel threatened by them and they can just love them unconditionally. How awesome would that be to have a community of women that can come together and pray for our children and lift them up and encourage them and let them know that you can be anything that you desire to be. You don't have to go to work on some other man's job. You can do what you desire to do. And not only that, you have the power to create it yourself. But you know, we only know that when we're at a point in our lives to where we're operating in the place of forgiveness. We have to get there. This is what forgiveness does. Forgiveness frees us from the stigmas. It frees us from the labels. It frees us from the conditions. It frees us from having to compromise. It frees us from having to fall for manipulation. It frees us from having to live and hide behind our own insecurities. And so before moving on to anything else, before we take on another hat or another role, we must get to the point that this is where our focus is at. Because I am broken, because I've suffered trauma, because I've had to overcome relationships that didn't work, because I've had to take less or settle for less because of the color of my skin or because of my gender, because of all that, you know, there are no more excuses. There are no more excuses for for any of us. So because I've suffered through all that, because I've overcome all of that, because I'm willing to forgive, Now I'm able to pick up the pieces that remain in my life, pick up the pieces that remain, and press forward into my greatness. Because when we get to this point, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Yes, I'm broken. Yes, I have broken pieces, but I'm not done yet. I'm not out yet. I still have breath in my body. I still have a mind that works. I still have desires in my heart. I still have dreams that I must fulfill. And it's not too late. No longer will you allow your insecurities to make decisions for you. No longer will you be controlled by the jealous spirit. No longer will you have to settle for less. No longer will you have to wear the labels imposed on you by what you've been through or by what somebody else said that you were. You can then begin to redefine. You can then begin to decide who you're going to be. And at that point, you don't need the approval of anybody else. So, woman to woman, I'm telling you, before we move forward, before we try to take on 2021, there are some things we're going to have to leave here in 2020. We're going to have to get an understanding here in 2020. We're going to have to understand that, yes, it's been hard, but let's look at it for what it is. We're still here. We're still standing, and we're not going anywhere. So we need to leave the baggage in 2020. And I know for many of us, that baggage is the inability to forgive. We've been hurt so much. And some of us, we think that we have forgiven those people that hurt us. We think that we have gotten over or forgiven that traumatic event that occurred that was out of our control, but yet we still live with guilt. Yet, instead of forgiving, we build up this wall. And this wall causes us to be bitter, and it causes us to be angry, and it causes us to not be able to really feel that love and that intimacy and that passion that we once had, that zeal for life. It creates that barrier in us. And so, though it's an imitation of what forgiveness can be, it's really not. And we know it's not, but we have to pretend to ourselves, we have to manipulate ourselves into believing that we are okay. So we say that we are okay because we make money. We say we're okay because we have a good career. We say we're okay because we have a roof over our family's head. But all the while, we still have those little desires that we tend to not give into from the fear of being hurt, or from the fear of being re-traumatized, or from the fear of the unknown. But yet we say that we have forgiven that. We say that, yes, God, we know that you know all things well, and that you're working it out in my favor. But what happens when that's not enough? What happens when that religious practice, what happens when that faith just does not seem to be enough to help us be free, to help us tap into that freedom that we can only get through forgiveness? So guys, before moving on, we must really search ourselves. And this is one of the hardest things for us to do, to really look within ourselves and to see that what's in us may be just a mask that we've worn throughout the years. What's in us may just be our way of coping and functioning in our dysfunction and not really being free like we know that we can. So before moving on, before moving into 2021, we must take a long, good, hard look at 2020. Long, good, hard look at everything that we suffered over the years. Take a good, long, hard look at what is it that has been keeping me from really getting to the place that I desire to be, that I desire to be. What's really keeping us? What's really keeping us from having good, whole, healthy relationship with other women? What's really keeping us from reaching out to that young woman who is struggling? Someone that we can relate to, someone where we can see our story mirroring through the things that she may be going through. What holds us back? What is it in me that causes me to look at another woman and be envious and be jealous and be judgmental and be critical? That is not the way that we were created to be. We were created to be helpers of one another. We were created for sisterhood. We were created to be loving and nurturing. And when we can't look at someone else through the eyes such as Christ sees us, then that is a clear, surefire way that something in us needs to be left right here in 2020. We don't need to be trying to go any farther. We need to really take a good long look in the mirror at ourselves and deal with the issues, the unforgiveness, the pettiness, the jealousy, the critical eyes, the hurt, the trauma, the betrayals, all of that, the labels. We need to leave it, because it's going to be hard to press forward into your greatness, dragging all of that baggage along. Because no matter how far up the ladder that we get, when we have baggage, we hold ourselves back. When we have baggage, we can only get so far, and then we're stuck again. We repeat the cycle all over again. So woman to woman, we know where we have our shortcomings. We know the things that are holding us back. What hurts us or what hinders us is that we suffer in silence with it. We don't want to voice it. We don't want to share it. We hold that guilt. We hold that shame. Because at that point, we think that no one has ever been through what we've been through. We think that people are going to look at us different if they know who we are, if they know what we've been through, or if they know what you've done. But over the years, and taking time to come to the forefront, I'm realizing that that can be farthest from the truth. I think that that is a manipulation that the enemy uses, or the opposer uses, to keep us in silence, to keep us suffering alone, to keep us in isolation. So woman to woman, I want to let you know that you're not the only one who's been through what you've gone through. You're not the only one who has suffered that loss. You're not the only one that has had to overcome some traumatic event, or have had to overcome the betrayal, or have had to suffer through that embarrassment. You're not the only one. You're not the only one living with that sickness. You're not the only one with that limitation. You're not the only one with that disability. You're not the only one. And so before moving forward, let's just understand that this is what creates sisterhood. It's about being honest with ourselves. It's about being willing to go through the process, to do what it takes to make sure that, for one, me, myself, and I am okay. And for another, that as long as I'm okay, and as long as I have a voice, and as long as I'm willing to find my voice, then that means that every other woman connected to me is going to be okay. Because at that point, no other woman has to suffer in silence alone. No other woman has to be isolated in the hurt or in the depths of their pain. No other woman has to suffer through divorce alone. No other woman has to suffer through raising the children alone. No other woman has to suffer through being looked over. When we win, when I win, when you win, we all win. That's sisterhood. And this is the point that we women have to get to. But before we can move on, we must go through the process. We must examine our own lives. We must really understand. We must really consider the first thing, the thing that has been holding us back this entire time. We must consider, have we gone through the process of forgiveness? And if indeed we have we reached that point of freedom? Have we reached that point of freedom through our forgiveness? And that doesn't mean that we continue to hide behind the walls of our pain. And because we don't talk about it, or because no one knows about it, that we're okay, we can continue to hide here in the place of complacency. This means that by any means necessary, I've carried that pain around long enough. I've carried that guilt around long enough. I've carried the weight of those traumas around long enough. And it's time to bury it. And if, when I bury it, all I have is broken pieces, if all I have is just a string to hold on to, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to hold on to it. Those things that remain, I'm going to hold on to it until I can finally reach that place of peace. I'm going to hold on to it until I can finally see my sister through eyes of love and compassion. I'm going to hold on to it until I can get the strength that I need, until I can get the encouragement that I need, until I can look at myself and say, hey, I'm still here. I'm still standing in spite of it all. Until I can say, you no longer define me. Until I can say, I no longer have to compromise my worth. Until I can say, I no longer have to settle for the rations that you're trying to give me. Then and only then will we, woman to woman, be what we are born, created, and destined to be. I appreciate you joining me. I hope that you'll come back again and join me for another woman to woman.